Good morning. Today's Friday, but happy Friday. Happy whatever day it is that you're watching this. So now it's 6:25, so that was about an hour. I did like hip thrusts and I moved up in weight too, because the first week I was just trying to go like kind of lighter than my normal to prevent injury, and I wasn't like too sore, so I was like, okay, let me just move up in weight and I'm gonna slowly get back to like where I was at before pregnancy. But anyways, so today I'm going to kind of just be going over the reasons why I'm weaning, postpartum, how I was feeling about that, and the whole shebang, because I feel like making this decision was like one of the hardest decisions to make of probably my life. Just because there's so many postpartum hormones and just like guilt and things about pushing through with breastfeeding, that when you finally do pull the plug, there's just so much that goes in through your mind that you just, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I know other women feel like this. Not everybody feels like this, but if I could have had just more people in my corner who have been through this, instead of, you know, the typical try harder. And there comes a point where you are just trying so hard and you're losing yourself completely. And you have to look out for the betterment of yourself and your child, because if mama's not happy, nobody is happy. So I think today I'm going to be going through like maybe different categories of this whole topic. And I'm gonna do it like as I run my errands, as I'm doing things around the house, things like that. So it'll be more of like a casual, fun vibe. It's like you're hanging out with me, and I'll probably have Evie in the video for portions of it as well. All right, so I'm probably gonna head home. I have my coffee that I made this morning. I have been pre-making my mocha pot. It's like one of those espresso machines. I think I showed it in the beginning of this video that goes on the stove. I've been preloading that with the water and the coffee and packing it down and doing the whole shebang the night before, and getting my ice cup ready and putting it in the freezer, because it's literally so loud in the morning. I'm trying to slip out the door and not wake up Richard or my baby. So that helped, number one. Number two, getting all my clothes out, which is pretty simple these days because I don't really have many gym clothes that fit me postpartum. And I'm not about to go buy a bunch more because I want my body back. So it's pretty simple. I just wear a big t-shirt and some loose sweatpants, especially on leg days, because I have a knee injury that I'm nursing. That's a whole nother video that I can get into about my accident and how I injured my knee and how it's going and blah, 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 blah. But I wore my ACL brace today and it seemed to be going pretty swell. I didn't have any knee pain. And if I can make it, I think 2 more months plus some weeks, then that's gonna be the longest that I've been since my knee injury and then re-injuring it, because my last go around was like 8 months. And then I got pregnant, and all that relaxin going through your body, my knee just shorted out on me. I was literally blowing bubbles with my niece, and I got up off the ground, and I think I minorly tore my meniscus, but then I was on crutches during my pregnancy, and it was very painful. Very, very painful. And there's like nothing you can take while you're pregnant to like help with that. I took like minimal amounts of Tylenol. Hopefully Evie's super smart because of it. But yeah, that was terrible. So that was in like June. So it's been like 7 months. If I can make it like 1 or 2 more months, that's gonna be the longest I've been since I injured my knee. All right, I'm gonna get my booty home, and then we're gonna talk about the next segment of this video. Okay, so while I feed Evie her bottle, I thought this would be a good time to record this segment because I know she will be quiet. Sorry, my cat was trying to get my tripod. All right, Evie, you want to take the bottle? Okay, so yeah. I don't think there's necessarily a reason for why I started, but there are several reasons. So number one is I think around like 2 or 3 weeks postpartum, which now looking back is still pretty early. I'm still like pretty much in the trenches, but I feel like we're getting out. I got really bad mastitis, and I one night all of a sudden was just like changing Evie's diaper. It was around like 5 or 6 o'clock. And I was like, I feel like complete garbage. I feel like I have the flu, and this is really scary because if I have to take her to the hospital because I have like a sickness, this is not gonna be good. And then I started pumping while Richard and I started watching a movie. And I was like, wait a minute, I have like a hard lump on my left side because I was like massaging my boobs as I was pumping. And I was like, holy crap, I think that I actually have mastitis right now because these are all the symptoms that I heard about. So I quickly made a teledoc appointment, talked to that doctor, and they were like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have mastitis. Take ibuprofen and I'll to get your fever down because I did start to gain a fever. And I'll prescribe you antibiotics. And she got them to my pharmacy within that night. So I picked them up and then I came home. Took them, and I think in about 12 hours it started to go away. And I had started tracking how much I was pumping. I'd say around like 2 or 3 days before I got mastitis. Around 2 or 3 days before I got mastitis, I started tracking. No, it was like a couple weeks before, like a week or two before I actually got the mastitis that I was tracking. Basically what I saw was my supply was going down. I was making around like 31 ounces a day, and that's enough to feed the baby. But then it started going to like 20, 17, 15, and luckily I had a little bit of storage backup in my freezer, so I like pulled that immediately when I noticed my supply dipping. And then I was like, oh crap, babe, like we're gonna have to combo feed if my supply is dipping. Like I don't know what I'm going to do right now. So it was really hard to pull the combo feeding band-aid because I was like, I'm never gonna give my baby formula, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why, I just had like a really big stigma against it and thought that I was just not going to do that. Thank God that I put some on my registry. So flash forward to when I got mastitis, I was like, this makes so much sense for why my supply was dipping. So I got rid of the mastitis after like 3 to 5 days, I'd say, and I really tried to get the blockage out, which was terrible and very painful, but whatever. It ended up coming out through so many different means. Then I think I got my supply to around like 15 ounces a day, which is still like half of what she needs. And we're combo feeding, and I started getting more clogged ducts. I think I got like 2 more on the same side and 1 more on the other side. And I had my 6-week follow-up appointment with my OB, and I just told her what was happening and asked her for any recommendations. And she straight up just told me, I recommend weaning off, because if you are dealing with mastitis and clogged ducts this early on, imagine your breastfeeding journey as this goes. And at first I was really like discouraged. I was like, that kind of sucks. But I did consider it. So what also made breastfeeding in general hard was Evie was born with a tongue tie right at the tip of her tongue. And in the hospital it was pretty painful, I'd say. That was like not very fun to deal with. But ended up pushing through, came home, and her latch was just really bad. You want to take a break? Her latch was really bad because of the tongue tie. We got it clipped like I think 3 or 4 days when we came home from my pediatrician. They actually did it in office. And then she just had a really tough time latching after that. She had to really relearn how to use her tongue. And then she also was trying to relearn how to use the bottle too, which was very stressful for her and for us as well, because feeding just ended up not even being something that calmed her down. So I just started to exclusively pump between all of this. And I would say when she was born too, with having jaundice, eating more regularly helps flush it out. So I was really adamant about making sure she got a full feed because her latch was bad. So I was pumping and giving her a bottle, I'd say like 2 or 3 days after we came home. Somewhere in that time frame. So as my supply dipped and as things started to become more and more stressful, that is when we were probably, I'd say my supplies went down to about 5 to 6 ounces a day a couple weeks ago, because it just wasn't that high. And I tried to give breastfeeding one last go ahead, and have her latch and do the whole thing. But again, she just didn't get a full feed. She would be hungry 10 minutes later, and I was willing to just keep going with that, but then her sleep was getting disturbed. And I think I'm just so type A that my mom brain could not fathom how that was going. Especially then when I would pump, I would see how little I was getting, and I didn't know because my supply was so low. This is another thing I totally forgot about. Going from the boob to formula back and forth, and I was like not able to mix them at that point because your breast milk is in your boobs and the formula is in the bottle. She did not want the formula bottles and was starting to not eat the right ounces during the day. And I knew she wasn't getting enough from breastfeeding because I had been pumping previously, and that still wasn't enough. So all of this was just driving me literally freaking bonkers, like literally insane. So I made the executive decision like a day after Christmas that since my supply is so low, since she's 8 weeks old, I made it through, I would say, one of the most important parts of a newborn's life, like the first month, maybe even 2, if you want to count 8 weeks as 2 months. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. So at that point, being like 5 or 6 ounces a day, weaning wasn't very difficult. Yeah, so like I said, there are so many different reasons for why I decided to wean, but I feel like everybody's journey is different, and everybody has different things that causes them to make the decisions that they make so yeah, I hope that all made sense. And honestly, it doesn't really matter if it makes sense or not, because it's my decision, you know what I mean? So I was somebody who didn't really understand why somebody wouldn't breastfeed. And I only had 2 goals when I was pregnant, was not to be induced and to breastfeed for like a year. And what are the 2 things that happened? I was induced because I was going over 40 weeks and my doctor recommended to do that. And I'm someone who doesn't listen to doctors like for myself, but for my baby, I decided to listen to them. So I was induced, and then as well as not being able to breastfeed for a full year. I thought it was just going to be second nature and be super easy, and it is so not. And my heart goes out to all the mothers struggling to breastfeed, because it is so hard. So hard. Who's that pretty baby? Oh, you're so cute. Okay, I think we're going to go to Staples and do an Amazon return. And I think that's the only errand that I really need to run today. I'm going to do a Walmart order probably for tomorrow. So I'll see you guys there. Well, the Staples trip was kind of a flop, so we ended up going to check the mail, and I ended up getting this really cool baby book that I'm super excited about reading. And I also ordered these leggings off of Poshmark for literally $30, And the quality of these are insane. Here's the little shop that it came from. But they are literally brand new. I'm very excited for these. Okay, so today is just one of those days where Evie, I don't know if she's going through a growth spurt or what it is, but she is not napping for more than like 30 minutes at a time. And it's really hard to get her down. She's like fighting with the naps. I don't know if she's extra hungry or what it is, but, or maybe she's picking up on my mood because I am flipping exhausted. I don't know. We're waiting on her bottle to be done right now. But some things that I wish that I knew slash would have helped me about like the emotional aspect of weaning is that your baby just needs you to be happy. Like at the end of the day, you being happy is going to deal with these little emotional outbursts for them growing so much better than if you're completely exhausted. So, I mean, I guess. Hold on. All right, we're gonna do this during the feed because I don't know if my original plan of doing this in different locations is going to work today. But yeah, she's doing pretty well on the formula. I wouldn't say that there's any issues per se. She's still gaining weight. Everything's going well with that. So that's another thing is I wish that I just didn't have such a weird preconceived notion of formula and thought that it was like the worst thing in the world, because honestly, it has saved my mental and it has saved our bonding and everything that like has to do with stress and all of those factors. As for just the emotions in general of weaning, I'm pretty sure there are like emotions that make it so that you really don't want to stop breastfeeding and producing milk for evolutionary purposes. That just makes you second guess it a million times. So yeah, that was weird to experience. And I'm not sure if I really had this or not. Maybe it was like self-diagnosed. But my boyfriend, I had him look it up. It's the DMER, like dysphoric milk ejection reflex, I think is what it stands for. And it's like when your milk comes out, you have a drop in dopamine. And so it's supposed to be replaced with oxytocin, but that lull sometimes in like the two neurotransmitters causes some women to feel depressed and anxious and all of these like weird emotions. And I would say that I didn't necessarily feel it when I was breastfeeding, which if her latch was better and the breastfeeding went well, I could see how that wouldn't have been a problem. But with pumping, I don't think I got as big of an oxytocin release while doing that. And also I had really bad issues with my letdowns. Like my letdowns would take like sometimes up to 5 minutes and I would have to constantly massage my breasts. I didn't know if I had elastic nipples, which is apparently a thing, or what was going on. But or if it was just an oxytocin release issue. And my letdowns were just having an issue. But I would have, every time I would pump, I would have these immense feelings of just anxiety and hatred and just I just did not feel comfortable in my body, like whatsoever. And just life seemed terrible. And I had my boyfriend look it up and he was like, you totally have this because you're fine all throughout the day. And then as soon as you go to pump, then in like maybe 5 minutes afterwards, you are just so negative and moody and not the same person, which I can totally see that, because looking back at some of the pictures that I would take in the middle of the night pumps and stuff, the captions that I would send to my friends on Snapchat were like so dreadful. Like, here I am pumping again, 3 a.m. I wonder when this is gonna be over. This is crazy. Just like the most existentially dreadful captions on a 3 a.m. pump that you could ever imagine. They were actually pretty funny now that I look back at it, because my mental state is completely different. But I think that kind of wraps everything up for why I'm weaning, the emotional aspect of weaning, some things that I wish that I knew, and my mindset before going into like breastfeeding and feeding my baby. But yeah. So at the end of the day, literally what I've realized is the only thing that truly, truly, truly matters is your baby is fed. And I know that sounds so cliche because fed is best, blah, 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 breast is best, whatever. But honestly, it really, 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 truly is. Fed is best. And however you find yourself being happy while feeding your baby, because at the end of the day, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work to feed your baby. You have to feed them every 2 to 4 hours all the time. And then they finally start to sleep through the night, and every day you got to do it again. So however you find the way to allow this time in your life to be special and to be magical and bonding for you and your baby, that is truly what matters. So if you guys like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below any of you guys' experiences with combo feeding and weaning and the whole shebang that goes into this whole thing, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody has a different story, and everybody's baby is different, and every mom is different. So share your comments down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.